Alrighty, on with the build. The beautiful Boomerang. Okay, so starting at the beginning. Step one, we have assembling our two main gears for the differential. You're calling it the drive gear, but it's basically the spur gear, isn't it? And counter gear. And the differential itself. So we're obviously replacing these bushings for ball bearings. We just have the shielded bearings that we're using on the inside. I've actually got all the parts here to do these 2 pages. At least we think we do. There's a lot of parts in step 2. Hopefully in this video we can get you guys through these first 2 pages, or if it goes pretty quick, we might actually start on the front differential. But if I keep talking like I do, we won't get very far at all, will we? So like I said, we don't have any 850 size ball bearings, so we're just running with the centered bronze bearings they give you in the kit. We can always change that later if we want to. Now the grease, they give you 2 greases, molybdenum grease. For the sake of my gums not bleeding profusely, I'm just going to call it molly grease. And ceramic grease. Well, I have a fair few ceramic greases left over from previous kits, so I'm just going to burn this up first before I open a new tube. And I'm just doing my usual trick where, because Tamiya tells you to grease the parts being inserted, I like to grease the holes that the parts are being inserted into. It just makes things a lot easier if you're trying to hold this small bevel gear here and trying to apply grease. The grease goes everywhere, especially with my fingers. They slip, they fall, they get lost. I just find it easier doing this way. And we're just going to insert our bevel gears into our main gear thusly, and that is step 1. Too simple. Now, reading on, after all this is assembled and you go to put your motor in, I suppose I could say this later, but it's telling you to remove the propeller joint before attaching. It doesn't say before attaching what. I'm guessing the motor. But I don't see why you'd need to do that. We're probably going to do it, but that's just bugging me. I had to bring that up. We're going to deal with it as we get to it, I guess. Okay, so the main half of the gearbox here, we have our BA16, the one I was just talking about that you have to remove apparently. We have, again, 850 sintered bronze bushing, our 1150 sized thrust bearing. If you don't know the difference, these are both ball bearings. This new camera angle, I'm not sure if I like it or not, but we're trying something different. It just helps me not bump into the camera so much. So there, like I said, these are both ball bearings. One is a roller ball bearing. The other one is a ball thrust bearing. Now the main difference between the two is your roller ball bearing can take obviously a lot of radial load, which is load in this direction in the bearing. It can take some axial load, which is load this way through the bearing, but not a lot. Now your thrust bearing can take, well, this particular thrust bearing can take little to no radial load, but it can take a lot of axial load, because these 2 halves, you can't even see that very well, can you? I think I might end up changing this camera angle back. These 2 halves spin independently with the ball bearings in between. So that's your differences between your standard roller ball bearing and your thrust roller ball bearing. In case you didn't know. If you did know, then that whole explanation was uncalled for. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to grease the shaft actually. So our 850 bearing goes into our casing like this, and our thrust bearing with this bevel drive gear sits in there like that, and then our BA16 part, which is the which is the drive shaft joint, propeller shaft joint, they call it. Drive shaft, propeller shaft, same thing. This is a car, it's not a plane, it doesn't have a propeller, does it? It's also telling you to put that E8 part on. Oh, and of course, a ball bearing. Now, this being on the outside of the gearbox, I'm actually going to get a sealed ball bearing. They're in the box over here, just wait. Okay, sealed ball bearing as opposed to a shielded ball bearing. It sits in there like that, and we are going to get our, what do they call it, E8 of the E tree. Now that, does that really just sit like that? That doesn't press on at all. It looks like it should. Yes, it does. Okay, so that, it just clips in there like that. I'm actually going to put a little bit of grease on the end of this one because we are running into that sintered bronze bushing. Not a lot of grease. Doesn't need it. And you just have to spin the shaft until it lines up with the gear. There we go. That's that part done, and yeah, we'll work out why we got to pull it back out later. Just give me 2 seconds, guys. I think I'm going to change your camera angle. I really don't like the way this looks. Okay, so back to normal. You got to try new things. It doesn't really matter if they don't work. Just don't try them ever again. Okay, so moving on. Now we have our outdrive cup and another ball bearing, which I have one here. Again, using the shielded bearings on the inside of the gear case. That's actually, is that going to, no, it won't be too bad, will it? It won't be that exposed once the drive cup's in there. So I won't bother putting a sealed ball bearing on there. And then, yes, our drive cup, and then we have to fix that in place with an E-clip, a C-clip, an E-ring, an earring, whatever people want to call them. Now these, they get a hard time from a lot of people, but it really is just a matter of taking your time, getting used to how they work and how they fit up. Also, a nice grippy pair of needle-nose pliers helps. Now, that needs to be able to spin on that shaft. That means it's in correctly. Now, I was playing with this before. This 2mm shaft here sits in the drive cup. Sits in the drive cup like this. And then your, which one is it? That one. Your bevel gear sits over that, and then your other drive cup goes in from the other side. All well and good, but the hole in these drive cups go all the way through. So this is going to be interesting because as soon as you put that shaft in, it just wants to fall straight through. So I wonder how many times it's going to fall out while we build this car. It is telling you to put some grease on. This is where it's telling you to use some molly grease. So again, I'm just going to apply some grease into the hole. Hopefully the grease will help it stay in there. Yes, and it will. And then no, we don't want that one. We want this one. Your two side gears. You have 2 different gears, so make sure you get the right ones. Because you've got 2 of the same to go in the front diff, I think. So which one goes first? Chicken or the egg? So does this gear, and my bearing falls out. So does this gear sit in first and then the side gear? I think your spur gear goes in first. It doesn't really say. It's just saying about shove them both in. Right, now E2 part is the plastic part of the E tree, along with this shaft, this tube, sorry, and the tube will just press onto that E part, and that sits in there like that. Now I'm going to put some grease on this bushing again, fairly liberal. I'm not going to grease up the whole shaft though, because obviously we have a ball bearing in one side. Yep, we just slide that on like that. Most of the grease actually went inside the tube, but that's okay. Actually, I'm going to take that back out and grease up that gear. So I have a few of these almost empty tubes of grease, so we might as well use them up. So today being Saturday, it's actually the 1st of February. So this is the first build in the month of February, obviously. So we may be getting 2 builds in this month. If we get all the paints we need for the Wild Willy, I'm going to grease up both gears. Why not? I don't think you can have too much of this grease. So yes, this you might see 2 builds, maybe more, out of the month of February, being a short month, I don't know. So that's those gears in there. I'm actually going to grease up the main spur gear while it's accessible like this. And I just squeeze the tube, turn the gear. It will work its way around the teeth of the gear as it starts turning. Now this shaft, as you can see, the shaft is actually fallen through a little bit. I'm going to slide that side bevel gear onto the outdrive cup and apply some grease to that side gear. I hope this is the right way it goes in. Otherwise I'm going to have to do it all again. Here's everybody Saturday. It's actually raining today quite a lot, and it's quite windy. There are a few cyclones way up north threatening to do some damage. So that's that half of the gearbox done. The other half of the gearbox we need another bearing, which is here. Press that into that side, and again our drive cup and another E-clip, earring, whatever you want to call them. And they just snap on, really that easy. And yes, I know I have missed and sent them flying across the room many times. Like I said, it's just a matter of practice and you do get used to it. So our other side bevel gear slides onto that spline. More grease. You cannot have enough grease, I don't think. Obviously you can have way too much grease, because after a while it just becomes a waste, doesn't it? And our main differential gear. And I might actually, it's a good idea to do this. It actually does tell you to do it, but I manage to forget nearly every time. So just grease up the center of that gear where it's actually going to run. And I have a grease rag there somewhere, mate. No, the white grease rag.
Not here.
Oh yeah. One I prepared earlier. Most important tool, your grease rag. Never leave home without it. Alright, so that was that step there. My box is empty, so that must be the end of step 2. Step 3, we need to join our 2 halves, which is going to be interesting, to say the least. I wonder how many times I'm going to lose this little 2mm pin. Alright, we also have some plastic parts to go in. We have our C6, our first bit of colour in the kit. Lovely blue. I'll just trim this pip off there. We have our C6, which slides into that little slot there. Oh, this is going to be fun. And I wonder if that can go in after. Well, it's actually got a bit of a spigot there that sits in the hole. Well, this is going to be awkward. So what I'm going to do is cheat. It's not really cheating. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease, actually, in the hole. A little bit of grease. And those holes there, and that should help hold these parts in place, hopefully, while I try and get these two halves together. Now, is that all we needed to do? Yes, it appears to be. So these two halves, and of course I'm just pushing that pin all the way through that drive cup. And wow, this is awkward. Okay, so I think I'm getting it. Okay, doesn't seem to want to go together properly. There must be something stopping it. Okay, I'm just going to pull this apart again and see what's going on. Nothing that I can really see is out of place. It's a good thing it didn't fit because, again, I forgot to grease up these gears. So let me just do that first. It's always a good idea to check, double check, and triple check all your steps as you're building. Because if you're a numpty like me and you forget to grease up gears and you go out running the car, it's not going to last very long. Okay, so let's have another go at getting these two halves together. And that feels... that's just super notchy. I know everything's loose, but... man, I've got parts going everywhere. Okay, is this part actually sitting the right way? Yes, I think it is. Alright, that might have been our problem. That part there, that, what are they calling it? B4, that actually just snapped into that side, so that might have been our problem. So let's have another go. Just lining up. And that still isn't... see that gearbox rocking like that? Is it just a matter of the gearbox halves having a little bit of warp in them? So I'm going to throw some screws in. A 3x20. Which way are we going here? This way. Yeah, that's very strange. Alright. Let's see how it goes. So a 3 by... see that one. And a 3mm flange nut. Alright, just run up loosely for now. And a 3x27 through this one, what it looks. Another flange nut. Is that a 27? Must be. Seems a little long. And a 3x12 self-tapping screw in this one here. So, this is the first time we actually need to use some tools. Alright, so I'm going to start off with this tapping screw. And again, I don't know why Tamiya does this. They give you a screw that you need your large screwdriver for, and it doesn't fit in the hole. So then you've got to use your smaller screwdriver, which doesn't fit the actual screw properly. I found that on a few cars actually. So let's just tighten these screws here. Yeah, see? That doesn't even fit in that hole to do the screw up. It's just silly, Tamiya. What are you doing? Okay, that's it. Gearbox half together and it still doesn't seem happy. So I am going to get a screwdriver. And there goes that bit. I'm really making this look hard, aren't I? I have to try and get this into that gear. Kind of like that. Okay, that actually doesn't feel that bad. My differential isn't working though. Well, it is, it just feels tight. Okay, just let me go back and have a bit of a think about all this. We'll bring it back when I get it right. Okay, so we didn't really work anything out because there was nothing to work out as it turns out. The gearbox is fine. Once we gave everything a few turns, it feels fine. The diff is a little little tight, but I reckon it should be alright. It should free up quite nicely. So, because I talk too much, we've gone into overtime actually for the length of our video. So, I know it wasn't too much today, guys, but there's your partly assembled rear gearbox for your Boomerang. There was a lot of parts to get together here, I guess. So next we are going to, or the next video I should say, going to install our motor. We are going to run the Sport Tune motor. Give it a bit of sting. That's going to be, again, fiddly with these adjusting plates. Set plates, they call them. Then move on to the front differential. Then it's time to actually start building suspension parts. So, I know it wasn't much, but there you go. There's a rear transmission assembly for a Boomerang. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode.